Oh yeah, baby. Lots of good news. So your tubes were biased so crazy hot, like unbelievable that it, didn't blow up. So it's brought the noise floor down a lot and cleaned up the tone a little bit in a good way. More on that later. But yeah, your bias at idle is now about 60% plate dissipation, which is perfect. It was like over 100% before, so these tubes were just getting mangled. You can hear that this one's slightly microphonic. That one's good. It's not a deal breaker. You can get away with these for a while, and they're pretty well matched, so you'll be fine. But you could get some primo ones for down the road. Got your trim up and running here. It's nice and deep, but look at this pot, is super loose. Not cool. All these pots make ground via being connected tightly to the chassis. So I'm gonna take off all these knobs and tighten all these pots, because even your volume pot here, the replaced one, the old push-pull that got swapped out, is super noisy when you wiggle it, and that's not just on the wiper on the inside, so cleaning won't help. I think it's literally just needs to be cranked down. The other thing about these pots, these two volume pots, they were both replaced. This one used to be push-pull. I guess they did this one at the same time, but they used the wrong taper, meaning all of your usable range is between about 1 and 3 on an old Fender pot. That used to be about between 1 and 7 that you would have room to play with. So your clean, dirty is really in a tight range with these audio taper pots instead of J taper. So if you really wanted, you could get some replacement pots that are the right taper, or you could just know that on a normal deluxe or Vibrolux, when you put it on 3.5, it's going to be clean still, and yours, you have to put it on half. But again, that's another reason to get these pots really clean, because you're at a real tight range at the bottom range of the pot here, so any kind of noise or crackle is going to be annoying in that range as you're adjusting. And sometimes it gets sort of stuck in a noisy spot where signal's not coming through exactly right. So we wanted that to be nice and smooth so that you got full ranges of volumes without having to put in new pots. It's fairly bright, but I still think most of that is the speaker. Your bright switch makes it even brighter. So it's working, but you'll never want to use it. The other things to look at on here is your bias board's been redone in a pretty good job. This standoff is no longer necessary. They changed your bias to be a bias level instead of bias balance, which is good. So I was able to bring it down without adding any resistors or anything, just using the bias pot, which I think is a slightly sketchy pot. So I'm going to clean it and make sure its ground is totally solid, because when adjusting the bias, there's a couple points where it just was like off the rails. So I think the pot itself should be gone over. So I'll do that while and I'll tighten all the hardware and make sure ground is good everywhere, because that could also be contributing to your higher noise floor. But your higher noise floor is much lower now, which is good. You might be able to hear this constant ticking of the tremolo. That's a common problem with these Fenders. That's a little flashing light in there that you'd probably see if I turned this light up. Yeah, so that's the thing that makes the tremolo happen. So when I turn the speed up, the light flashes faster, which makes the sound cut in and out faster. But it often comes with this tick. But if you add a 10 nanofarad capacitor from this leg of the, get my pointer here, from this leg of the roach here to ground, that ticking goes away. So you can let me know if you want me to do that. Most people do it just so that you don't hear all the time. In general, I think you've got a decent amp here, man. I'll plug it in through my cab to see if the little extra brightness goes away, and then we'll know it's speaker related. You've got a bunch of plate resistors that have been swapped out here for carbon film instead of carbon comp, like these plate resistors. That was probably in an effort to bring the noise down, but it might have just been bad bias all along. This cap is a replacement. It's proper value and it's fine, but it'd be cooler to have a ceramic in there like the old ones, like this one here. But your blue molded caps are all here, which is good. A lot of people unnecessarily swap those out and their tone sucks afterwards. Some more replaced resistors here. Again, carbon film instead of carbon comp, so it's, you know, not a huge deal. A little bit of microphonic lead dress here, and a couple of tube issues still. The sockets, tube sockets, could maybe just do with a cleaning. Like if I even touch one underneath, you get crackles and stuff, so I just feel better cleaning and maybe tightening each socket for each tube so that there's good contact being made at all times. Board has lots of wax on it, but these 70s ones all did, so sometimes that creates like leakage between components via the buildup in the wax on the board. So voltage from here is actually getting to here, even though it's supposed to be insulated by this board, because of the wax getting hot, collecting particles, then hardening again time and time again when you use the amp. The board itself becomes a bit conductive. So I'll check voltages across, but generally your plate voltage is looking correct, so it should be pretty easy to suss out any other problems, so it's not like your power transformer's given the wrong voltages or anything. I got a little bit of a wind noise happening here. Let's see if it's just the verb. No, channel volumes are down, so that's maybe phase inverter or power tube. It's pretty subtle. But you know, we can get down to the bottom of everything. Even just tube socket type stuff. Like if I pull V4, that probably goes away. Hit standby while I pull it. Okay. Yeah. So we still got the trem tick, but not the wind. So the wind is downstream from, or upstream of reverb recovery. So maybe just noisy plate resistors here in V1 and V2 that get amplified by V4. So you know, to make this thing like studio grade, super quiet, perfect amp, holy grail, you'd be, you know, into some time and some real discovery. Swapping a few components that are currently original, which are nice, to see if that's the source of the noise. But gigging wise and even recording wise, unless it's like hypercritical, low volume stuff, you're just not going to be noticing it. It sounds like a ripping amp. Like I wouldn't be too worried about that stuff at this stage. So let's get it all functioning. Let's maybe get rid of this tick, tighten up all the hardware on the pots so there's no extra noise and buzzes, and clean up this pot so that you don't get the scratchiness. You're all biased up for your 6V6 or your 6L6s, and nothing's gonna catch on fire anymore, and it's noise floor is way down. So I'll report back in a little bit.